Okay, it's 10 past 4 AM here, and another late night. Been watching a boxing match and I've just been browsing videos. It's the 30th of November, and before I commence this video, I'd just like to have a quick word about something that's happened in Glasgow. A police helicopter's crashed into a pub there, and there's many casualties, so my thoughts are with all the victims. I hope there's no fatalities, but it seems like a major incident. That's got nothing to do with this video, it's just a sort of side thought because it's literally just happened, so I hope there's no fatalities from that. But anyway, on to the subject of the video. I made something similar to this before, which I think I called it Racism is Racism, but I want to kind of make I guess you would call it a part 2 to that, and maybe I'm repeating the same things I said, but I think this is, there's times I'm very grateful I don't live in the United States, and I don't mean that disrespectfully to America the country, or to American viewers watching this. I'm not anti-American. There's many things I love about America. One thing I don't love is that the whole issue of racial identity, the whole issue of judging people based on ethnicity, in my opinion, is still very, very prominent. And I base that claim on the sort of vitriolic comments that are absolutely polluting cyberspace, I should say. And they come from all groups. You see them from white racists, you see them from black racists, you see them from Asian racists, and Hispanic racists. And this is very, very prominent. I just think it's very sad that there are so many people whose brain, whose mind seems to be focused on ethnicity, and they cannot set their dimension above that. Their whole mindset is about ethnicity, and this constant responding to racism with further racism. Like, you blacks are the most racist of all. You whites are evil. You Hispanics this, you Asians that. I cannot tell you how nauseated I am with this shit. I'm a white guy, but that really isn't that relevant to what I'm talking about here. I would like to think that if I was Asian or black or Hispanic, my personality would be exactly the same. Yeah, I'm not naive. I know there's issues of identity. Obviously, it is part of who you are. But when you get to the point of starting to make these lazy, crude generalizations of an entire ethnicity, I guess the best way to deal with these sort of people is to ignore them, not give them limelight. Unfortunately, though, there is quite a lot of them, especially in America. I'm not saying they don't exist in Britain. I'm not suggesting we're a lot better, but I do think it's less prominent here. And it's just like, I guess what spurred me to make this video is I've just seen someone making an excuse for black supremacy. Let's be clear about this. We're not talking about a time when there was deep segregation and extreme racism against African Americans. I'm not saying racism doesn't exist today, but I don't think there's any excuses for a sort of responsive black power movement. To some extent I can understand that in its early days, i.e. the 60s. Today, no, I don't accept that at all. Today I think it is what it is, which is just hardcore brainwashed racism. That's all it is. And it seems to me these people aren't capable of a logical debate because their entire mindset is you whites are evil, and that's it. That is it. You cannot rationally debate with these people. You just can't. And the same applies to all other ethnocentrists, supremacists. And this is the underlying theme with all of them. It's the same with white supremacists who come out with insane claims about the so-called genocide of white people. These people are so brainwashed by their own bullshit, so brainwashed into thinking by colour, so brainwashed into their paranoia and their... You really can't get through to them. They might not necessarily act on their bullshit, but the fact they have that mindset is in itself problematic, I think. And it does depress me, angers me, because I'm not going to apologise for being born a white guy. It's just absurd. And I think people in public life who use this sort of race baiting, who have to bring race into it, are a disgrace. That's why I was attacking Bernard Hopkins recently, the champion boxer. Now, I respect him for what he's done in the ring. A man his age, to have the sort of achievements he's had, it is something to be admired. But it's got absolutely nothing to do with being an African American and talking about his athletic skill. It's insane to suggest that his skin pigmentation's got something to do with it. He happens to be a good fighter. He's got skills. I'm not saying his background hasn't influenced him, but his skin pigmentation certainly hasn't. I'm not talking about his identity as an African American. I'm talking about his actual athletic skill here. Of course, ethnicity influences your identity. I'm not saying it doesn't, especially in America, but the idea that it actually has an impact on your physical abilities is rubbish. It's similar to Boris Johnson, the Mayor of London, today came out with a controversial piece in the paper about intelligence equating with the need for equality, which attracted quite a lot of controversy. And that's a similar sort of thing. It's... I'm citing the Bernard Hopkins thing as just an example, but I'm sure if I looked online I could find plenty of other examples. And I think reasonable people from all backgrounds have a responsibility to challenge the racists within their own group. So I have a responsibility to challenge white racists. I believe, in my opinion, Asian people, black people, Hispanic people have a responsibility to condemn the racists within their midst. Because it's a lot harder for someone from another ethnic group to do that, because then it just results in reverse racism. So it's much harder for me to criticise a black racist than it would be for a black person to criticise a black racist. Because if I do it, they'll just come out and say, oh, you're a white guy, you can't talk about racism, look what your people done for my people. This is the sort of dialogue that you have to deal with. White people are not my people. Yeah, I'm a white guy, but they are not my people. Humanity is my people. It just sickens me that people can be so shallow and so... I do see it as a sort of sickness, this sort of ethno-centric mindset. So, in conclusion of this video, I'm not saying that it doesn't play a role in identity. Of course it does, especially in a country like the United States with the history it has had. But to use your skin pigmentation to define things such as physical strength and values and character is twisted. Because all of those things can be found in every ethnic group. It's a simple fact. You get physically strong people, strong athletes from every ethnic group. It's just a fact. Yeah, there may be trends. You may see more of a particular group in a particular sport or something like that. But that, even if that's the case, why gloat about it? Why boast about it? I don't know what else to say, because in my opinion it's very, very, very difficult to have any sort of reasonable debate with supremacists, because they look down on you. I can't debate with an Asian supremacist or a black supremacist because I know they see me as genetically inferior, or they automatically demonize me because of what white people done 300 years ago. I just think it's very sad that some people really do think like this. Being white has got absolutely F all to do with my identity, speaking personally. I'm sincere about that. It's got absolutely... It's something I hardly ever think about. But I'm making the point in this video simply because I've seen the sort of bullshit that comes up all the time in cyberspace. And it's always a case of confronting racism by being racist. And it's the most boneheaded, lazy attitude I could think of. I've said all I need to say. But I will say, if you have that mindset, if you think because you're white, or because you're black, or because you're Asian, or Hispanic, those are the groups I'm talking about. If I've missed anyone out, apologies. If you think simply being identified as in one of those categories somehow makes you more intelligent, or better, or gives you special victim status, you really, really need to get a life. And the reason I mention victim status is because I do believe some people use their racial identity, use their ethnicity to wallow in victimhood. That would be a controversial statement, but I believe there are some people who will use the fact that they may be an ethnic minority in a certain part of the world to use that to somehow claim moral high ground over everyone else, and it's a pathetic, lazy, and frankly cowardly attitude to take. If you're a genuine victim of racism, you have my complete sympathy. If you have suffered racism, you have my sympathy. But don't use it. Don't use your ethnicity to try and win an argument, because you can't. You just can't. You didn't choose to be black. You didn't choose to be white. You didn't choose to be Asian or Hispanic. So just the idea that that gives you some sort of moral high ground in the argument is just... I'm not even going to humour it. I'll leave it there.